really had no allegations. This was conjecture and pie-in-the-sky belief.
Now I want to turn to John Haggerty, who joined me several days ago on the Stone Cold Truth radio show. An incredible interview that I really wanted to go into here. John Haggerty is among the most respected and knowledgeable experts on election law and recounts. And it was John Haggerty with a team of others, real professionals, who were sent to Wisconsin to manage the Jill Stein-generated, Hillary Clinton-backed, George Soros-funded recount. So, John Haggerty, welcome to InfoWars. Great to have you today.
Good afternoon, Roger. It's a pleasure to join you again.
So, lay out for our listeners exactly what happened in Wisconsin, and then give us a taste of Michigan and Pennsylvania, because based on everything I have read, the Clintonites, with Jill Stein fronting for them, never presented any evidence whatsoever of irregularities or undervotes, overvotes, nothing. Their entire complaint was based on two incredible arguments. One, that the machines could be hacked. When I said that before the election, they tried to crucify me. And that the polls didn't match the final results, so the final results must be wrong. Take it away, John Haggerty.
Well, that is correct, Roger. This was a baseless recount. And let me give you some background before we go to the specific states. So even though it's a federal election, state law controls the conduct of elections in each state. And each state is a little different in how they do things. So in Wisconsin, Wisconsin allows for a recount for any candidate if they're willing to pay a fee, and the fee is calculated on the number of votes and what the cost would be. So Jill Stein paid a fee of about $4 million to have a recount, even though she was the fourth-place candidate in Wisconsin. And she remained the fourth-place candidate even after the recount was over. So what she did was she dragged these hardworking Board of Elections officials, employees who had just worked 4 months on a presidential election, and made them come in during the holiday season and spend 12 to 14 hours a day to recount the election in time for the Electoral College. The election system in Wisconsin is very professional, very professionally run. And in the end of the day, Donald Trump gained 131 votes, and Jill Stein gained about 60 votes. And to give you an idea, we're talking out of over 3 million votes cast in Wisconsin, which that change translates into 0.006% change, which is nothing. So, even though she paid the fee, it required taxpayer costs to do this recount, and it comes out in the end of the day to nothing. They really had no allegations. This was conjecture and pie in the sky belief, desperation, trying to because their refusal to accept Donald Trump as the president and that he had won Wisconsin. Jill Stein's people started this recount, and Hillary people participated, and it was obvious to us that there was some collusion and coordination going on. But the Democratic officials conducting the election thought it was a waste of time. So Wisconsin, the machines really couldn't be hacked in the sense they're not networked. These are paper ballots that are scanned by machine. So in the end of the day, what this recount did was it proved the accuracy of the system in Wisconsin, because there was such minor change in the numbers. So basically what you had is you probably had some ballots that the machine couldn't read or the ink was too light. But it showed how accurate the system really is. So in the end of the day, Wisconsin conducted the whole recount really for nothing. And I hope the one thing Wisconsin does is change their state law so that there has to be some kind of mathematical trigger for candidates to obtain a recount. Like in New York State, for instance, it's statutory. Candidates have to be within 0.5% to get a recount. It's not court-ordered. It's not pay a fee. If it's within 0.5%, it's that close, it's an automatic recount. And you can't get a recount any other way, and that's probably what they should consider in Wisconsin. Now let's go to Michigan.
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
Tell us about Michigan.
Yep, let's go to Michigan. So Michigan, again, there were no specific allegations, and what really happened is the recount started for 4 days till the court stopped it, realizing what a farce it was. So I was in Wayne County, which is Detroit, and what you really saw in Wayne County and Detroit was irregularities that were really much that helped Hillary. You found that 37% of the city of Detroit's precincts tabulated more ballots than the number of actual voters that signed in the poll book, which is always an indication of something is wrong. But this wasn't hacking or postal. What this was stuffing the ballot box for Hillary. And so the way Michigan state law works is that a precinct cannot be recounted if the number of ballots doesn't equal the number of people in the poll book. Because if there's more ballots than people in the poll book, that means someone added ballots in afterwards. And these are all precincts where Hillary won 90 to 95%. So the way Michigan state law is that it can't be recounted, that the election results on election night stand. And that's what happened in Michigan. The state court ruled that Jill Stein had no ability to bring this proceeding, that she was not an aggrieved candidate in any way, that it wasn't possible for her to win, and that she offered absolutely no proof to the court or the boards of election that something had happened. She was trying to make assumptions, and in fact, what will come out of this now is the state board of elections will conduct an audit onto Wayne County to see if it was human error or if it was actual fraud or negligence for the mismatched irregularities in Detroit. And very often, in presidential elections with a lot of ballots, you have election day workers who work long hours and are poorly trained, and they make a mess of it. And pretty much that's what happened in Detroit. But again, no one was hacking any machines. No one was doing anything except maybe stuffing the ballot box a little bit, but again, in Hillary's favor. So in the end of the day, again, Donald Trump won Michigan.
All right, so the big three in their trifecta was Pennsylvania, a little more complicated, but tell us about that.
Yep, well, Pennsylvania, again, Trump beat Clinton about 44,000 votes out of 6 million cast, or less than 1%. So, again, what they did was, again, Pennsylvania state law is different than Michigan or Wisconsin. They allowed them to take a random sampling of some districts to see if there were irregularities. And then if there are irregularities or there are issues, then a court can allow a fuller recount. But they weren't able to show any irregularities. They weren't able to show anything that mattered that a recount should be conducted. So when it came time to put up or shut up, the Jill Stein people, in some ways the Hillary people, couldn't prove anything. The judge actually called the suspicion of a hacked Pennsylvania election borders on the irrational. This whole thing was designed. It's really ironic that Jill Stein and also Hillary Clinton, and we created the term Clinton-Stein in Wisconsin. We would call it the Clinton-Stein recount. That all they wanted to do was prevent these states from participating in the Electoral College. That's what it was. It was actually to deprive voters in these states of their ability as a state to conduct their votes at the Electoral College. So it's total hypocrisy on their part, because this wasn't – Jill Stein's supporters knew they were never going to win anything. They just wanted to muck up the process and to try and cost Donald Trump electoral votes. And it's a shame. The good part is in Wisconsin, the recount was conducted and finished on time, so the Electoral College could vote. In Michigan, the courts, both federal and state courts, put an end to it, and the Board of Canvassers did. And in Pennsylvania, the court didn't take the bait from Jill Stein. So the good part is that the process worked. If you look since 2000, the Bush-Gore recount, many changes have been made in the election system. There's only been a very handful of close, big elections, and those handful you're talking about after a recount were decided by less than 300 or 400 votes. In all of these states, you're talking tens of thousands of votes margin, yet we're still having recounts when everybody knows nothing is going to change. So the good part about these recounts is they showed that the improvements made to the election system after Bush-Gore have actually worked and made the election system better. When they talk about Russian hacking, the Russian hacking is into campaign emails, John Podesta's emails. The election systems themselves are really not connected to the internet. And what these systems do is actually count paper ballots. They're scanning paper ballots. So in a situation where there was some question, you could go back and count the paper ballots.
No, even the proof that the Russians were hacking emails is thin, to say the least. We now know definitively that the famous DNC emails in internal documents came from a leaker, not from the Russians. I mean, that it's time to put that canard to bed. As you know, John, 6 Democratic parties sued Donald Trump and I in federal court, arguing that we had a massive plan to intimidate minority voters at the polling places. That lawsuit went all the way to the Supreme Court, who declined to hear it. But after defeating David Boyce, who was the hapless attorney who ran the Gore 2000 recount, we had to go into court simultaneously in 6 states on the same day. That's 6 different sets of lawyers. We are still paying off a legal debt. If you want to help, you can go to stopthesteal.org. We have a small debt there. We intend to pay everybody and all of our lawyers because these folks did yeoman service. And our Election Day operations were unimpeded after the court spoke long and clear, saying that Donald Trump and Roger Stone had no plan to intimidate or otherwise harass minority voters or anyone else.
InfoWars has more than 15 YouTube channels and about 3 million subscribers. Our main channel has 1.854 or 1,854,000 plus subscribers. Now, they've been gaming the system for a long time to shut down nationalistic or patriotic media, saying we're right-wingers, saying we're extremists. Well, it doesn't matter who we are. We have a right to free speech, don't we? As long as we don't violate the rules. Well, now Zuckerberg has come out and said he's going to restrict conservative news like communist China does, calling it fake news. And Google, that owns YouTube, has announced, and they've done it now 2 weeks ago, that they're going to basically make you click the bell in your notifications. We're going to show you how to do that, or you won't get all the channels that you've subscribed to and you won't get the videos. Now, why are they doing this? It's more than just censoring. They want you to see the videos that they feed you below and beside the videos you're looking at that are corporately sponsored so they make more money. They're taking the you out of YouTube. So we're in this information war, and it's more important than ever that you promote the videos, that you like the videos, and that you send them on to others. Because the answer to the attempt to shut us down and restrict free speech that's openly now happening is for us to redouble our efforts. We're winning the culture war as true classical liberals that made this country great. We're restoring the Renaissance. So again, if you want to get our videos, so you can make your decision whether you want to see them or not. After all, that's why you subscribed. YouTube's had this since they started 12 years ago or whatever it was. And they're fundamentally changing it so you don't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is promoting fake news and trash news and establishment news. It's killing real independent news. But we the people, by taking action, can break the back of this system. So please, click on the bell so you get the notifications and so you get in your feed the videos and channels you've subscribed to. I'm Alex Jones for Infowars.com.